Today on Good Morning Maine, a man accused of murdering his girlfriend in Acadia National Park has received his sentence.
Plus, lawmakers hear powerful testimony from the families of the Lewiston mass shooting victims.
And we'll visit a farm in Unity that's producing special meat that's in big demand by Maine's Muslim community. Good morning and welcome to Good Morning Maine. I'm Emma Smith.
And I'm Craig Colson. Thank you for joining us. Happy Friday to everyone. Happy Friday to you.
Thank you.
We made it again, thank goodness.
Yeah.
I was telling her earlier yesterday, I took a nap and I woke up and for a few hours there, I thought it was Friday already.
That's the worst.
I was so disappointed when it kind of came to me. It's like, oh no, it's only Thursday. I've got one more day. But,
I know.
you know.
And today's Groundhog Day too,
Yeah.
so we'll find out how long that winter's going to be.
That's true. We're keeping our eye on out in Pennsylvania,
Yeah.
where they're going to be doing the traditional reveal later on this morning. So maybe in an hour or so, we'll keep
Yeah.
you updated on that.
Yep, the live stream is up right now, but they shouldn't be too busy with it right now.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think it's still dark there. Somebody just told me that the sun doesn't really come up until around 7 a.m.
Yeah.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we're keeping our eye on that. We have some more some groundhog trivia coming up later on in the show. And
I studied.
did you really? I didn't
Yeah.
study, so we'll see what happens.
ready.
So, okay. I'm going to get skunked this morning, I guess. But first, a check of our forecast. Looks like a quiet day today. Just a lot of clouds out there and nothing really big to talk about.
Meh.
Be careful this morning, by the way. The roads might be a little greasy out there. We
Right.
did have a little freezing rain in our area here in Bangor.
It's just warm enough that you think it'll be fine, but
Right,
then there
right.
could be some black ice.
Yeah, just be careful.
Yep. Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Friday. A small crowd advisory is posted through 6 p.m. Saturday because of active surf expected along the coast. The system that we've been watching is going to be moving out of here, taking the snow with it. So we may have had a few snow showers on and off throughout the morning period as well. Even further down to the south, we're going to work on getting this out of here today, and we'll remain under a mostly cloudy sky. Low pressure, though, pretty much right offshore, though, located right about in here. And as it continues to sit and spin and slowly track off to the east, it will stir up the ocean coming up. And that is why a small crowd advisory is up along the coast moving forward. Futurecast moving forward for today, showing a lot of clouds, maybe a few flurries if you're lucky. We'll start to see the clouds break up coming up later on tonight. As for the winds, though, you'll notice that for a bit, reaching up to about 5 to 10, even up to 20 miles per hour at times. We'll really notice the wind later on tonight and the parts of tomorrow as well. Gusty winds will be on the way starting today, lasting through the weekend as well. So for today, upper 30s, mostly cloudy and breezy, maybe a flurry or so if you're lucky, and the north wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, mostly cloudy and breezy again, lows in the upper teens, with the north wind picking up to about 25 miles per hour at times. For tomorrow, upper 20s, partly cloudy and windy out there, the north wind gusting up to about 30 miles per hour in many spots. Alrighty, that hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period. Again, a mostly cloudy sky, maybe some flurries if you're lucky. Temperatures in the upper 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Thank you, Devin. A Portland man who murdered his girlfriend at Acadia National Park in June of last year was sentenced in court yesterday. Our Matthew Durantzik has the story.
My son Victor, he sleeps his life away every day. And my daughter Violet has sustained a damn diagnosis of an autoimmune disease that is brought on by stress. The lady is not known because her mother, but her best friend and her guiding light.
Family members of Nicole Mokeme addressed her killer Raymond Lester in court about how their lives are forever changed.
He's giving me reoccurring nightmares. He's giving me insomnia. He's giving me a distrust for men. He's giving me crippling anxiety.
On June 22, 2022, Lester struck and killed Nicole with his car at the Skudik Institute. After killing her, he fled the scene, heading to Cancun, Mexico. After a month, Lester turned himself in. He was eventually brought back to Maine. The judge sentenced 35-year-old Lester to 48 years in prison. Despite the ruling, the Mokeme family says they believe the punishment doesn't fit the crime.
I don't feel like there's an actual justice because I just want my sister back.
Nicole was described by her family as a caring, beloved mother who always had her heart in the right place. Assistant District Attorney Bud Ellis, the lead prosecutor on the case, described Nicole as a pillar of the South Portland community for her work empowering Black and Indigenous Mainers with their organization Rise and Shine Youth Retreat. Following her death, the city commissioned a mural for Nicole recognizing her, now on display along Diamond Street. At the end of the day, the Mokeme family hopes anyone dealing with domestic violence will get the courage to speak up.
The only hope that I have is that this story will make a better voice for domestic violence. You see something, say something, look out for your friends. Domestic violence is real.
You can call the National Domestic Violence Hotline at 800-799-7233. They're always available 24/7 and willing to help. In Ellsworth, Matthew Juroncic, ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, an update now to a story we first told you about last week. More charges have been filed following the drug arrests of 6 people from Ellsworth to Mount Desert on January 24th. Among those arrested was 48-year-old Jeffrey Card of Ellsworth. On Wednesday, drug agents and members of the Ellsworth Police Department went to his home to do a search as part of his bail conditions check. During the search, investigators located approximately a half a pound of fentanyl, along with 36 grams of suspected methamphetamine, with a combined estimated street value of $42,000. Card was rearrested and charged with aggravated trafficking and also violation of conditions of release.
The commission investigating the October 25th mass shooting in Lewiston heard emotional testimony from family members of those killed. Our Augusta reporter Corey Bichard was there and has the story.
Here outside of the Deering building in Augusta, where the commission investigating the Lewiston mass shooting heard directly by those impacted by the October 25th tragedy.
I want people to know how much his daughter meant to him. She was his whole world. He would move mountains for her.
Emotional testimony from family members of 5 victims of the October 25th Lewiston mass shooting, including from Stacy Sear, the partner of Michael Dolores, who alongside with Jason Walker charged the shooter, Robert Card, when his gun jammed at the bowling alley. She was also present and recounted being evacuated from the space.
I saw a man leaning against the wall, covered in blood. He had been shot multiple times but was still alive. Someone was asking for belts to use as tourniquets for him and a child that had also been shot.
Kathleen Walker, the wife of Jason Walker, says there was a failure of communication from law enforcement regarding the delay in notifying the victims' families.
We also waited an excruciating 15 hours to get official confirmation that they were deceased.
According to Elizabeth Seal, the wife of Joshua Seal, an ASL interpreter and advocate for access for the deaf community, says another failure was a lack of accessible information for the deaf and hard of hearing.
After a few days, news outlets were covering the tragedy and what was going on, the search for the shooter, and again, there were barriers to communication. Sometimes there was no captioning, sometimes there was a lag in captioning, sometimes there would be pop-ups on the screen that would prevent us from seeing the captioning. Some deaf people prefer not to read English, but rather watch ASL, and oftentimes there would be an interpreter on the screen, but they would cut away from the interpreter.
One shining light that all family members who testified talked about was the work of the Victims Advocate Program.
But the victim advocate, Jamie Miller, has been awesome. She's guided us through the whole process. I don't know how we could have done it without her.
The Commission's next scheduled meeting is February 15th, where they'll hear from the Maine State Police about their response during and after the shooting. In Augusta, I'm Corey Bichard for ABC7 and Fox 22 News.
Meanwhile, Republicans formally responded yesterday to ideas brought by Governor Janet Mills during her State of the State address. Republican lawmakers say the state of our state is actually poor, both from an economic and policy standpoint. They say the focus on the Ellsworth mass shooting and calls for new legislation, including universal background checks and closing the private sale loophole, will not prevent the next mass shooting.
There were 50 homicides in Maine last year. It was a record number, but 40% of those were committed by one person. And everything that I've heard, I haven't heard a single one of these gun control proposals that would have addressed what Robert Card did.
Republicans went on to say that we should wait until the commission investigating the Lewiston mass shooting finishes its report before they can think about new legislation surrounding the issue. They add there is support within the caucus to grant the commission subpoena power, and that could be taken up by the legislature as early as next Tuesday.
Advocates for stronger mental health legislation rallied at the State House yesterday. They're calling on lawmakers to pass and fund more mental health services. One bill they spoke about was the Maine Resiliency Package, which passed the legislature last session, but is waiting on the Appropriations Committee to provide funding.
You go to any section of our society in Maine. You go to law enforcement, and what do they say they need? They need more community mental health services. You talk to any of our school districts, and what do they need? What do they say they need? They say, we need more community mental health services. You go to our town and municipal officials, and what do they say they need? More community mental health systems. We go to our places of faith, and what do they say? We need more access to community mental health services. This bill, and those that will come along, are the things that are going to make it possible for us to do that.
Supporters went on to say that they're pushing for mental health to be a priority this legislative session, especially in the wake of the Lewiston mass shooting.
Well, the Oxford County Sheriff is now facing calls for his removal. In their last meeting, Oxford County Commissioners made a motion to send a letter to Governor Janet Mills urging her to remove Sheriff Christopher Wainwright from office. They say in 2021, Sheriff Wainwright improperly and illegally disposed of firearms that were marked as evidence. They also claim he is deficient in his contractual obligations for 2 school districts, SAD 55 and RSU 10. Senator Lisa Keim, who represents parts of Oxford County, says she's part of the push for the governor to remove him.
Well, this investigation has been ongoing for several months at this point, and when you think about the Oxford County Sheriff remains in power while he is actually being investigated. At this point, I have spoken to the Attorney General's office and the Governor's office and asked them that they expedite their review of this, because the people of Oxford County need to have resolution, and in the Sheriff's office as well. There is a real drag on morale.
In Maine, the only way a sheriff can be removed from office is by an act from the governor. So we'll keep you updated on that.
All right, the time now is 6:12. Coming up next on Good Morning Maine, we'll hear about a new pilot program in Kennebec County that's bringing doctors directly to the scene of bad accidents.
But first, another check of that weather forecast. A mostly cloudy day ahead today with highs near 38 degrees. Mostly cloudy and breezy overnight, the lows dropping down to the upper teens. Tomorrow for Saturday, partly cloudy and windy with a high near 29.
Jamar Construction Products in Bangor continues to grow to meet our customers' needs, supplying products for site work contractors, concrete contractors, and survey and safety supplies. We are proud to be the local dealer for Hilti, Valley Blades, U.S. Fabrics, and Euclid Chemical, plus so much more. Stop by and see us at 1270 Hammond Street or give us a call at 907-4491. If you dig it, pour it, plow it, fasten it, lay it, or lift it, Jamar Construction Products can help you.
This morning, wake up with Usher.
It's gonna be a great show.
What will he reveal about his new music and his epic halftime show? Plus, she just got nominated for an Oscar. So what's Annette Bening doing next? She's coming to GMA Live this morning on
Good Morning America.
Goose River Farm and Meat Store is conveniently located on Route 3 across from Hammond Lumber in Belfast. They have a wide selection of meat and poultry, including beef, pork, lamb, chicken, duck, rabbit, and turkey. Open Tuesday through Saturday.
All the nonsense
Fibber
meets no nonsense.
I don't buy it.
Judge Judy.
Weekdays at 5 on ABC 7.
Well, of course you're doing well. You're here on Wheel of Fortune.
Let's go win some money.
These contestants are going places.
Scandinavia.
They're moving and shaking and getting it done here on Wheel.
You could try to make it look a little harder.
Weekdays at 7 on ABC 7.
Welcome back, everyone. A first-of-its-kind program is bringing doctors directly to the scene of crashes and other emergencies. Our David Ledford spent the day with the Augusta Fire Department to learn more as participants get real-time experience.
We are a Swiss Army knife of medical care.
Doctors are now responding to emergency calls as part of a new pilot program in Kennebec County called MD3.
It's one provider, one EMS physician working hand in hand, but the ability to provide so many services to so many different patients in need with a single resource. And that's really what we are.
The idea behind the program is to provide a high level of care in the field, while also reducing the strain on area hospitals.
Save that bed at the ER for someone who's in more medical need.
Officials say expert care in the field could mean the difference between life and death.
Saving a life or a limb when it happens, you want someone there that's a little bit higher trained than us in the field.
And emergency physician and MD3 participant Jonathan Busco says that having medical doctors respond to a scene helps determine whether or not a patient needs to be taken to the hospital at all, which can save on emergency resources.
Oftentimes, we're able to take care of them in their homes, so they don't even need to go to the emergency department.
MD3 officially kicked off in January, and after a trial period of a few months, officials will decide whether or not to make the program a more permanent feature of the county.
So far, they've responded to more situations than we originally anticipated. The county will have to make a determination whether they want to continue to fund it long term. We look forward to what the future brings with it.
In Augusta, David Ledford, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
As the calendar turns to February, the Old Town Public Safety Department is kicking off its annual pasta drive. Our Doug Banks spoke with 2 Old Town community leaders who say this tradition speaks to the moral compass the city strives to follow.
We're a community-based police department, so we're helping the community.
As long as it's non-perishable, no pasta is off limits as Old Town's Public Safety Department kicks off its annual pasta drive. Drop boxes for people to donate pasta are located across Old Town at the Public Safety Building, the Public Library, City Hall, and Old Town Orono YMCA. Another drop box has been set up inside Old Town High School for students to help out too.
Our job is to go out there and answer calls and be proactive. This is just another way to be proactive.
At the end of the month, donations will be distributed to the school district's food pantry, Penobscot Nation Food Pantry, Holy Family Church, and Caring Community Cupboard. The president of Caring Community Cupboard speaks from experience when she says the people of Old Town love to give a helping hand.
In record time, those places will be filled with this pasta drive. I know it will.
The pantry supports around 200 local families per week, a noble cause made possible by a family called Old Town.
If it wasn't for the food drives that people have, organizations have, we wouldn't be able to be open.
The Old Town Police Department, along with city and community partners, will be outside the Hannaford and Old Town Plaza on Saturday, February 17th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. for a pasta drop-off. For more information, visit our website, foxbangor.com. In Old Town, Doug Banks, ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
Well, a key principle of Muslim faith is to eat meat deemed halal or permissible. After struggling to obtain it here in Maine, a family in Unity is trying to build a new industry in the state for halal meat, as they say there is a growing demand. Our Grace Blanchard has the story.
Building a new industry in the state that doesn't exist locally.
Hussam Al-Rawi and his wife, Catherine Piper, are the co-owners of Five Pillars Butchery in Unity, which is one of the only halal meat processors in the state.
It's very important to say the proper prayer over the animal before taking its life, and this is what makes it halal.
Only consuming meat deemed halal is a key value of Muslim faith. Al-Rawi and Piper say when they first moved to Maine from the Middle East, they struggled to find options for their family.
We're hoping that we can be an example for other Muslim communities or even immigrant communities.
On average, they serve 20,000 pounds of meat per year, but with their plans to build the first halal-exclusive slaughter facility in the state, they would be able to increase service to 500,000 pounds per year.
The 2,400% increase in production. The need will still be there even after we have expanded to our facility.
And by working with local farmers, they hope to create new business opportunities for others in the community.
Feels more sustainable and it feels more incorporating when it's a community effort.
The facility will be built directly on their current property, and they hope to break ground by late spring. They say their ultimate goal is to normalize access to halal meat in the state and across the country.
We are hoping to run an operation that is based on the local community and the new members of the community.
In Unity, Grace Blanchard for ABC 7 and Fox 22 News.
That sounds like they're going to be very busy there.
Yeah, right.
Looks like they're already pretty busy too. They
Absolutely.
got 3 beautiful little children there
Right.
keeping them busy too.
There was a need in the market, and they're like, might as well help out.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
Yep. Jinx.
The word of the day.
Yeah.
Okay, the time now is 6:19. After the break, we sound like a broken record, but we'll have some ice safety refresher tips as we head into this weekend.
And to accompany that, we'll have a look at that forecast as well as Good Morning Maine continues.
Your financial goals may appear to be all about savings and investing, but in reality, it's about much more. Your life, your family, and your legacy.
Plan your future with Warren Financial.
Gun Sports and Brewer knows that for fun, exercise, and meeting new friends, nothing is better than ice skating. Whether it's sailing down the ice, making a great pass, and scoring in a game of hockey, or the grace, strength, and expression of figure skating. From the youngest child all the way to adulthood, anyone can enjoy the fun of skating. At Gun Sports, we supply the equipment for your skating fun for great prices, the proper fit, and service after the sale. Shop your locally owned Gun Sports Shop, Greenpoint Road in Brewer.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC 7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Coastal Auto Parts, Hamlin's Marine, Leo & Sons Auto Repair, Maine Collision Center, Old Town Archery, and Sargent.
Your financial goals may appear to be all about savings and investing, but in reality, it's about much more. Your life, your family, and your legacy.
Plan your future with Warren Financial.
Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. The Maine Warden Service is once again reminding Mainers think safety when deciding whether to venture out onto the ice. Sergeant Alan Gillis of the Maine Warden Service warns that this year's winter season has been less than ideal for ice formation, and that much of the ice throughout the state could break if you try to cross it. Gillis says if the ice is light gray to dark black, you should stay off of it entirely. He says white to opaque colored ice is iffy, but blue ice is ideal as it is the thickest. When in doubt, follow the saying, thick and blue, tried and true, thin and crispy, way too risky.
We've had stretches of warm weather, we've had rain, and that's terrible for the ice conditions. You know, Maine's a great place, there's a lot to do in the winter months, and we encourage people to get out, but to do so safely. And any of the activity is going to take you out onto the ice, so you just got to make sure that you're safe and smart about it.
Good advice. We've been hearing so much of that lately, and it's so important. Luckily, we've had some colder weather this week, which will help with the conditions, but a lot of people will be heading out this weekend, so just be careful. And as we keep saying, check with the locals, and they'll tell you what's safe and or where to go and what they've been seeing out there, too.
I don't know what the 10-day looks like, because you're going out next weekend,
Next weekend, I'm headed up to Danforth with some buddies, and we can do a little ice fishing.
Yeah.
Alan Gillis, by the way, listen to that guy. He's been around for years, and he knows what he's talking about.
Yeah.
So anyway, listen to them. Don't listen to us and take it seriously. Yep. Luckily, the weather looks like it's going to be okay to get out there. And little clouds out there, but overall not bad.
Yeah.
No big storms on the way.
Yeah, right. You said it all. Here's Devin Biggs with that forecast.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. Happy Friday. A small crowd advisory is posted through 6 p.m. Saturday because of active surf expected along the coast. The system that we've been watching is going to be moving out of here, taking the snow with it. So we may have had a few snow showers on and off throughout the morning period as well. Even further down to the south, we're going to work on getting this out of here today, and we'll remain under a mostly cloudy sky. Low pressure, though, pretty much right offshore, though, located right about in here. And as it continues to sit and spin and slowly track off to the east, it will stir up the ocean coming up. And that is why a small crowd advisory is up along the coast moving forward. Futurecast moving forward for today, showing a lot of clouds, maybe a few flurries if we're lucky. We'll start to see the clouds break up coming up later on tonight. As for the winds, though, you'll notice that for a bit, reaching up to about 5 to 10, even up to 20 miles per hour at times. We'll really notice the wind later on tonight and the parts of tomorrow as well. Gusty winds will be on the way starting today, lasting through the weekend as well. So for today, upper 30s, mostly cloudy and breezy, maybe a flurry or so if you're lucky, and the north wind getting up to about about 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, mostly cloudy and breezy again, lows in the upper teens, with that north wind picking up to about 25 miles per hour at times. For tomorrow, upper 20s, partly cloudy and windy out there, the north wind gusting up to about 30 miles per hour in many spots. Alrighty, that hourly forecast for the rest of the morning and afternoon period. Again, a mostly cloudy sky, maybe some flurries if you're lucky. Temperatures in the upper 30s. Your full 5-day forecast is coming up. Craig and Emma.
Maine Quit Link offers free help to stop smoking and vaping, including personalized quit plans and free patches, gum, and/or lozenges with every program. Get connected to a quit coach, trained to develop a plan that works for you. Learn how to curb cravings and overcome slips and relapses. It's free, it works, and people who enroll are 2 times more likely to successfully quit. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or enroll online at mainequitlink.com.
It's time to start planning that new home or garage you've been thinking about. Hammond Lumber Company is here to help, offering complete building packages with everything you need. With several options on their website and thousands of unique plans in their in-house drawing catalog, Hammond will help you make your dreams a reality. Choose your materials from Hammond's extensive showroom displays, and Hammond will deliver your order from any of the locations across Maine and New Hampshire. Start planning your new home or garage at Hammond Lumber Company, your building project partner.
An alternative to pills, Voltaren is a clinically proven arthritis pain relief gel which penetrates deep to target the source of pain with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory medicine directly at the source. Voltaren, the joy of movement.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Foxcroft Academy, Howard Insurance, Johnson Foundations, Mallard Real Estate, McCusick Petroleum, and R&K Variety.
In 10 years, Lisa Schneider will have an amazing second act, thanks to career reskilling courses from AARP to help make sure her income lives as long as she does. The younger you are, the more you need AARP.
You're watching ABC7 Bangor.
Powerful testimony from a Michigan woman on trial after her son brought a gun to school and shot 11 students. It's the first time the parents of a school shooter have been charged in the crime. Fox News correspondent Connor Hansen has the story.
I wish he would have killed us instead.
Jennifer Crumbly taking the stand, charged with involuntary manslaughter. Her son, Ethan Crumbly, is serving a life sentence after shooting 11 people at Oxford High School in 2021. Killing 4 of them. Ethan's parents are accused of making a gun accessible and ignoring their son's mental health issues.
Now, did you object? Did you say, I don't want that gun in the house? Anything like that?
No, I was more angry that they cut into our Christmas tree time. So I was irritated at that.
Prosecutors are now focusing on key moments leading up to the attack. They showed this disturbing drawing Ethan Crumbly drew in school. It was the reason for a meeting the morning of the shooting with Ethan's parents and school officials.
He told us that he didn't feel my son was a risk and actually gave him the option if he wanted to stay at school or go home. My son wanted to stay at school.
Prosecutors also pointed out disturbing passages in Ethan's journal about wanting help.
Shooter writes, "My parents won't listen to me about help or therapists."
Jennifer Crumbly said she wasn't involved in buying or storing the handgun used in the shooting. She says the weapon was purchased 4 days prior with Ethan's father. But she did post on social media about going to the gun range with Ethan.
It was a fun day. He asked me if I wanted to go to the shooting range with him, and he's never asked me, just me, to go before.
Ethan's father, James Crumbly, is scheduled to have his trial in March. In New York, Connor Hansen, Fox News.
Well, a full mea culpa from the Defense Secretary. Lloyd Austin says he did not correctly handle his hospitalization for complications from prostate cancer surgery. He added he never considered resigning and there was never an absence of leadership at the Pentagon. The defense secretary also talked about the current situation in the Middle East and the expected military response to the death of 3 American soldiers following a drone strike earlier this week. Fox News Chief National Security Correspondent Jennifer Griffin is at the Pentagon with the latest.
I take full responsibility. I apologize to my teammates and to the American people.
Defense Secretary Austin walked gingerly up to the podium, still rehabilitating his leg, a post-op complication from prostate surgery.
I want to be crystal clear. We did not handle this right, and I did not handle this right. I should have told the president about my cancer diagnosis. I should have also told my team and the American public.
He apologized for missing an opportunity to be a role model for the 1 in 6 black men diagnosed with prostate cancer, who often are too embarrassed to get screened.
The news shook me, and I know that it shakes so many others, especially in the black community. It was a gut punch, and frankly, my first instinct was to keep it private.
The questioning soon turned to the looming U.S. response to Iran and its proxies killing 3 Americans. The Pentagon briefed Congress of its plans in a classified session Wednesday.
There's been a lot of telegraphing about targeting and responding to the drone strike, so much so that the Iranian proxy leaders have left the country. Some are back in Tehran. Is the point not to kill any Iranian commanders?
I would just tell you that, we will have a multi-tiered response, and again, we have the ability to respond a number of times.
On Tuesday night, a Houthi cruise missile came within 1 mile of the USS Gravely, just seconds away from impact. This is the closest a Houthi missile has come to a U.S. warship.
It was the first time in combat the U.S. has used the close-in weapons missile defense system known as CWIS. U.S. defense officials tell us they have completed forensic work on the remnants of the drone that killed the Americans and assess it to have been manufactured in Iran. At the Pentagon, Jennifer Griffin, Fox News.
Actor Alec Baldwin pleads not guilty to an involuntary manslaughter charge on Wednesday, in connection to the fatal shooting of a cinematographer on the set of the movie Rust. Baldwin waived his right to an arraignment, which was set for Thursday. A grand jury in New Mexico indicted Baldwin. He was holding a prop gun during filming when it fired a live round, killing Halyna Hutchins and injuring director Joel Souza back in 2021. Baldwin has denied pulling the trigger. If convicted, he faces up to 18 months in prison. All right, coming up on the second half of the newscast, our reporter Devin Dagnall has some Groundhog Day trivia that he'll grill us with.
We'll look forward to that and more as Good Morning Maine continues.
If you think about it, hash browns are the French fries of breakfast.
Who says it's not French fries that are the hash browns of lunch and dinner?
That's also true.
Right now, you can get a savory, melty sausage burrito, crunchy hash browns, or these satisfying breakfast faves. Mix and match any two for just $3 at McDonald's.
Your local professional, eco-friendly office space partner is WVII Business Solutions, your one-stop shop to get the job done. Handling all your office furniture and printing machine needs at an affordable price. Offering full system integration into your workplace and local service on everything we sell. We can even remote monitor your system with just-in-time inventory and service need assessments. Little to no downtime gives you peace of mind. At WVII Business Solutions, your solution is only an email or a phone call away.
Hello, fellow flyers. I'm the Savvy Traveler, here to share the secrets of convenience at Bangor International Airport. Parking, you're steps away from the terminal. Inside, even more conveniences. And friendly, efficient security. All of these make BGR the official airport of you. Remember, the Savvy Travel through Bangor International Airport. FlyBangor.com.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Central Maine Denture, Corinth Auto Parts, Greenway Equipment Sales, Katahdin Trust Company, Maine Collision Center, and Smokey's Barbecue.
You're watching ABC7 Bangor.
There we go.
There we go. Welcome back to Good Morning Maine. Today is Friday, February 2nd, 2024, and this is also Give Kids a Smile Day.
Yeah, I was going to do Groundhog's Day, but we have so much coming up here, and this is pretty important too. They do it right here in Maine too.
Yeah.
It's an initiative created by the American Dental Association to provide dental care to children who don't normally can't afford it to receive it. It all started with a single dentist in St. Louis who donated his services, and now dentists and clinics all across the country are taking part. In fact, on February 23rd, the University of Maine at Augusta Dental Clinic will provide free cleanings and exams for kids ages 5 to 19 who do not have a dentist themselves. All you have to do is contact the clinic here at Bangor to make an appointment. They have a school of dental hygienists and that sort of thing over there. And so they're going to have dentists come in and they'll clean your teeth and check them out, make sure you don't have any cavities.
Yeah.
A lot of kids, millions of kids across the country don't go to the dentist because their parents can't afford it or whatever.
Oh, it's so expensive.
And boy, oral health is so important, and studies have shown that it impacts their learning in school. I mean, if you have a sore tooth, you're not thinking about much else. So anyway, take advantage of that, and we'll have probably more on that as the month rolls along, as it gets a little closer.
It's crazy to think about. I mean, kids and adults, it affects your heart health as an adult.
Everything.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, pretty important.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought it up.
Yeah.
All right, on this day in history, in 1852, London opened the world's first public flushing toilets. The drains were connected to sewers that fed directly into the river of Thames. Thames, excuse me.
The Thames.
I always forget
it's full
that.
of nastiness.
And before they were just chucking it out their window.
Yeah, I guess so. Throwing it in the little thing in the middle of the street.
It's really crazy how far we've come as a society.
Thank goodness.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
In 1876, the National League of Professional Baseball Clubs was formed in New York, also known as the National League. It included a team called the Boston Red Stockings.
That was the Red Sox before.
Yeah. And now it's modernized, of course. In 1913, Grand Central Terminal opened in New York City with more than 150,000 people visiting it on opening day. In 1928, the Great Fall River Fire destroyed 5 city blocks and was one of the worst fires in Massachusetts history. I haven't heard of that one.
No.
I'll have to write that one down.
Yeah.
That's interesting. In 1935, a polygraph test was conducted for the first time in a criminal investigation. The 2 suspects who were tested later declared themselves guilty based on the evidence from the lie detector test.
They said, okay, you got me, I guess. So
it's crazy.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
All right, a few more history tidbits for you. In 1945, President Roosevelt left for a summit in Yalta with British Prime Minister Winston Churchill and Soviet leader Joseph Stalin. And in 1980, the FBI conducted a sting operation targeting members of Congress by using phony Arab businessmen in what became known as Abscam, a code name that was protested by Arab Americans. That was kind of a big one.
I can see why.
Yeah, you don't hear much more about that one anymore.
Yeah.
And in 2016, health officials reported a person in Texas had become infected with the virus, the Zika virus. It was the first case of it being transmitted here in the U.S. We heard a lot about it for a while there, and then coronavirus came by, and you don't really hear about it much anymore.
But
I believe it's spread by mosquitoes. And
I heard a little bit about the Zika virus the other day. They say when we don't hear about it anymore, oftentimes that's a success behind the curtain, is the people who were supposed to be doing their jobs were doing them, and it often got resolved to a large degree.
Yeah.
Okay, some birthdays today include singer Shakira. She's 47 today. They just erected a monument for her. Yeah, where she's
Colombia?
from. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's beautiful.
Yeah.
Supermodel Christy Brinkley turned 70, and rock singer Graham Nash from Crosby, Stills and Nash is 82.
Christy Brinkley was the stuff. She might have been called the first supermodel.
Oh, yeah?
Back in the day.
Okay.
She was it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
she
she's beautiful.
Had a great life. Married Billy Joel.
Oh, right.
You know.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
anyway, happy birthday to all of them.
Talk about a power couple.
Yeah, a lot of talent right there on the screen.
Yeah, right.
We got some groundhog trivia coming up, but first we have to check the forecast, which is appropriate today.
Yeah. Let's check that forecast with Devin Biggs, and then we'll be right back with some Groundhog Day trivia, which I'm going to own you at, by the way.
I bet you will.
Alrighty, Craig and Emma, thank you very much. A small crowd advisory is posted until 6 p.m. Saturday evening along the coast because of active surf that we'll be seeing thanks to an area low pressure that continues to be nearby. Let's check out those wave heights right now. Not terrible at around 3 to 4 feet. You might see these stay at around these levels, if not go a little bit higher as low pressure continues to move away and some gusty winds begin to move in as well. But for now, though, we do have some snow that's starting to move out of the area now. We had a little bit last night and parts of this morning, but we're going to start clearing this out of here as the day progresses on. You might get a few flurries going throughout the daytime period today, but that's all we're really going to see as this area low pressure here continues to track off towards the east as it tracks off in that direction. But again, east, maybe southeast in some spots, though, but we'll start to get that precipitation out of here by that point. But futurecast moving forward, overall, a mostly cloudy sky, maybe a few flurries in a few spots if you're lucky. We'll start to see the clouds break up later on tonight, though, and as we head towards tomorrow morning, a part of the cloudy sky will be calm, and we'll keep that going throughout the daytime period on Saturday. Looking pretty good, just a little bit breezy out there from time to time too, that area low pressure not too far away either, but we will stay relatively clear even in parts of Sunday as well. Anything additional in the snowfall department will be very minimal at best, so especially further off towards the north you might see a little bit extra, but for the rest of us, so hardly anything in the snowfall department will be seen for today. As for the winds, so those will pick up today, reaching up around 20, perhaps 25 miles per hour at times later on today, and especially tonight as well. Tomorrow, though, gusty winds reaching up to 20, 25, maybe even 30 miles per hour will be possible in some spots. As our appetite temperature is 28 degrees, upper 30s on the way for us today, then upper 20s Saturday, we cool off a little bit, but then lower 30s by Sunday, Monday, also near Tuesday, mid 30s again for your Wednesday, then we're back in the low 40s again as we head towards your Thursday. Forecast coming up for today, upper 30s, mostly cloudy and breezy, maybe some flurries if you're lucky, the north wind getting up to about 20 miles per hour. Later on tonight, upper teens, mostly cloudy and breezy, the north wind getting up to about 25 miles per hour. For tomorrow, upper 20s, partly cloudy and windy out there, the north wind getting up to about 30 miles per hour in some spots. All right, let's check out that extended forecast. So it's staying rather dry out there. Lots of sunshine for the day on Sunday with highs in the lower 30s. By Monday, we'll be under a partly cloudy sky with highs in the lower 30s. We remain in the low 30s for your Tuesday with a mostly sunny sky.
All right, thank you, Devin. Time for a little trivia.
Yeah, I know. Let's throw it over to Devin Dagnall. He's on the green screen right now.
Good morning, Devin.
Hey, Emma and Craig. Happy Groundhog's Day.
Nice
I've got
hat.
a little bit of trivia here for you guys. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Sure. I love the hat, by the way.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
I had to dress up like, Pucktatani's handlers. We'll talk about them a little bit later on today. But okay. So our first question: what year was the first Groundhog's Day? Was it A, 600 BC, B, 1877, C, 1754, or D, 1887?
I kind of cheated because I read it earlier today. I knew what it was. So,
I think.
And before I was reading this
it?
morning, it was D.
No, it's not.
Yeah, wasn't it 1887?
Can we see the right answer, guys?
What is it? What is it?
It's D. It's 1887.
No! I knew it ended with a 7. Oh my God.
I don't get credit for that because I read it earlier today.
Oh, I read it yesterday.
It was in the history thing today.
Oh my God. That's what I get for talking too much. Oh my God. Okay, next question.
All right, the next question. With what group does Groundhog's Day originate? Is it A, the Shawnee tribe? Oh, let's see it. A, the Shawnee tribe. B, the Council of Balboas. C, early settlers to Pennsylvania. Or D, the Mennonites.
Okay.
D.
D, the Mennonites is not correct, Craig. It is C, early Pennsylvanian settlers.
Yeah.
It came with the German immigrants, right?
Right.
They were
Yes.
the early
Yes, it
Pennsylvania
did.
settlers.
Were the German early settlers? Did you let me have that question?
No.
But you said the wrong one.
I didn't know. I knew it was the German. It originated with German settlers because they started it over there.
Right.
But I didn't know if they were the Mennonites or whatever.
Oh yeah. Fair.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you get that one.
Okay.
All right, it's currently 1-1.
Craig, Emma. Okay, I'm writing it down.
Don't worry, I got it all up in this top hat. I got plenty of room for it.
Okay, you're all over it. Next question.
All right, the next question is, let's see it.
Back on Devin, if we
Let's see the question. Here we go.
There we go.
Where does Phil reside? Now, this is Puxatawny Phil. Where does he live? Does he live in A, the Shire, B, Throat Gully, C, Gobbler's Knob, or D, Puxatawny Peninsula?
I like the Puxatawny Peninsula.
Yeah,
Is
right,
creative.
Right?
Okay.
C.
C is correct.
Okay, wow.
Gobbler's Knob.
Wow.
Yeah.
Believe it or not.
Great
It doesn't
name.
sound real.
I know. That makes me uncomfortable. I don't like that. Okay, next question.
All right. Our next question is, how many Puxatawny Phils have there been? This is how many groundhogs has there been since the first Groundhog's Day.
I got
is
this
it
one.
A, 7, B, 69, C, 1, or D, 42?
This is a guess. I'm just going to say D.
D is not correct. The answer is C. There has actually only been one Puxatawny Phil according to the official
This
site.
is the lore that I have lived for. They have said there's only been one Phil, but I have some more lore after this. I don't know if it's going to be a question. Or is that all the questions we have?
We got one more question.
One more.
Okay, I'll save it if it's not this one.
Alrighty, and our last question. Let's see if Craig can tie it all up. What is Puxatawny Phil's favorite snack? Is it A, cheese pizza, B, tangerines, C, children who don't eat their vegetables, or D, granola bars?
Oh boy, it's got to be C, huh?
I don't know. I don't know this one.
I'm guessing today.
Guess,
Yeah, I'm going to say B, tangerines.
I'm going to say D, yeah.
Yeah.
Granola bars.
I gotta say, Emma stole this win. It was D, granola bars.
That was a guess.
Specifically,
that was a lucky
honey
guess.
and oat granola bars.
Okay,
How about that?
that makes sense.
I don't think I deserve credit for the first one either because I already knew.
No, that's
I
okay.
read that today,
I thought I knew that one.
Yeah.
Okay, so the lore that I wanted to share is that they say that Punxsutawney Phil, it's been the same one since 1887, but he has had many wives. So he gets the elixir of life over the course of years, but they don't give it to his wife, which I find egregious.
You'll have to talk to the circle.
I know.
Yeah,
the inner circle is what they call it.
Circle is the individuals in charge of Puxatawny's
So are you
longevity.
applying for the inner circle in that hat? Is that what we were up to
I'm
today?
hoping to be an honorary member. It would just be an honor to hold Phil if I could. But you know, for now, I'll just keep the hat.
Yeah, those are great questions, Devin. Thank you.
All right, Devin, don't go too far because we have Destination Devin coming up after the break.
Correct.
And we'll be checking back into Gobbler's Knob to see what's going on there a little bit later. So don't go away.
We'll be right back.
Roto-Rooter has served the greater Bangor area and beyond for 35 years, offering plumbing, hydrojetting, snaking, descaling, video inspection, and grease interceptor cleaning services. For all your residential and commercial clogs, call Roto-Rooter today, 990-1234.
And away go troubles down the drain. Roto-Rooter.
Commercial vehicles can be dangerous, and they usually carry big insurance policies. So whether you're hurt by a landscaping truck like this, a work van like this, or a big rig like this, we know commercial vehicle accidents, and we know how to get you the big money you may deserve. If any commercial vehicle hurts you, call the twos. We win for you.
Hurt by a commercial vehicle? Call the twos. We win for you. Call 222-2222.
Hi folks, this is Barry Gass of Gas Horse Supply and Western Wear in Orono. We've been in business since 1911, and our third-generation family-owned business can't wait to show you our unique line of Western wear and Western tack. We have Western boots, shirts, hats, belts, and buckles for the entire family, and Western tack from bridles to saddles and everything in between for your horse.
Gas Horse Supply and Western Wear, where the American West comes alive in Maine.
Oversharing can be weird.
How you doing, buddy? I'm more excited than a mosquito flying into a nudist colony.
Weekdays at 9 on ABC 7.
Welcome back. Well, it's Friday, and that means Devin is here to tell us all about his newest destination.
And he lost his hat, too. Growing up, Well, this is his part. I'm not going to say that part. Let's send it over to him, the hatless Devin. I almost read his part. Sorry about that.
A little more aerodynamic. I don't have my hat anymore. Thanks, Craig and Emma. You know, yeah, well, it actually has a lot to do with this story today. You know, growing up, I'd go on a lot of deliveries and car trips with my mother, and inevitably, I'd end up playing the license plate game. It was always fun picking out the different colors and styles of different plates, but recently, I met a guy who takes the game to a whole other level. Check it out on this week's Destination Devon. Tucked away along the back roads of Holden is a collection unlike anything I've ever seen.
I have a hard time saying I have a favorite.
This plethora of plates was curated by self-proclaimed Maine plates guy Jerry Downing. For Jerry, collecting license plates is much more than a simple hobby, it's an unadulterated passion.
You could say I'm a hoarder, but like with a little bit of organization.
Picker by trade, Jerry first got bit by the license plate bug while buying and flipping his first collection of plates.
I found them very lucrative, in fact. While some plates are worth pennies, others can be worth hundreds to thousands and several thousands of dollars. You know, I did really well selling that collection, but I also learned a lot about the history behind the plates and all of what they, you know, mean.
Okay, so they're worth some money, but what makes them valuable?
Yeah, there's certain years like war era license plates, 2-digit, single-digit plates. Some 3-digit plates are also desirable, 4-digit. You know, so the higher the number usually will result in a lower value.
But it's not just about the payout for Jerry. He says sentiment is what really keeps him collecting.
I mean, some of these my friends drove on. Some of these I waited in parking lots of the post office for somebody to come out, gave them my card and said if they ever get rid of that plate or if you have any duplicates of that plate.
And of course, vanity plates hold a special place in his heart.
I mean, people that were driving on a particular vanity, it shows kind of who they are as a character, or they like to they're representing something or someone.
So if you've got a collectible low-digit plate or a funny vanity, don't be alarmed if you see a big blue pickup behind you. Chances are Jerry has his eyes set on a new piece for his collection.
Like, yes, I'm that guy. I am that guy. I will drive by a house and I'll back up, pull in their driveway and say, I just got to tell you, I love your plate. Do you happen to have any extras pinned up in the garage?
Neat.
That's so fun. Yeah. I think I've seen him driving around town.
Have you really?
Yes.
Yeah, that's neat. Why not? You know?
Right? Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, right after the break, we'll have one last look at that forecast.
Don't go away.
Comfy, cozy, relaxing. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find rockers, recliners, sofas, and easy chairs. Quality furniture, affordable prices. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Welcome to the Orono Arcade, your local, affordable destination. We want to provide you with the best experience we can without costing a small fortune. Our ever-popular 9-hole blacklight mini golf course is a huge attraction. Plus, we have the best arcade video games to choose from, including both modern and retro games. We have weeknight specials consisting of... We look forward to seeing you soon at the Orono Arcade.
It's high school basketball season, and WVII and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Brandywine Graphics, Coastal Auto Parts, Complete Tire Service, Disconnected Tattoo and Art Company, Osborne's Plumbing and Heating, and Whitney's Family Supermarket.
Durable, sturdy, stylish. Not Joe. Joe's Furniture. Joe's Furniture Warehouse in Newport is the place to find solid wood, built to last, made in Maine dressers, bureaus, and nightstands. Not your average Joe. Joe's Furniture Warehouse, Grogan Avenue in Newport.
Okay.
As we start a new month, a lot of Americans are finding themselves looking for a new job.
Fox Business Network's Jerry Willis has this story and more in Fox Means Business.
Layoffs are on the rise as we start the new year. U.S.-based employers announced more than 82,000 job cuts in January. The report from Challenger Gray and Christmas says that's 136% more than the previous month. Workers in the financial and technology sectors were hardest hit. Stocks rebounding Thursday after Wednesday's sell-off. In fact, the Dow closed at a new record high. Investors regaining optimism about the possibility interest rates will be cut this year. Meanwhile, mortgage rates are dropping. Freddie Mac says the average 30-year fixed-rate loan dipped to 6.63% this week, but up from around 6% 1 year ago. And speaking of homes, what would Americans give up to have a bathroom that stayed clean and sanitized forever? Well, 1 in 5 tell the company Microban24 they would give up half of their annual salary. A lot of people also claim they'd be willing to say goodbye to eating out, watching their favorite show, and a year's worth of internet access. That's business. I'm Jerry Willis.
All right, now one final look at that forecast. Today it's going to be warmer than what we've been seeing the past couple days.
A mostly cloudy day
Mostly
ahead
cloudy
today.
day. We're just going to pop it up. We may have switcher issues right
There
now.
we go.
There we go. Thank you. Mostly cloudy today. A bit of a breeze, high of 38 degrees, so quite warm versus what we've been seeing. Dropping down to a low of 17 tonight. Mostly cloudy. That breeze is holding on. And tomorrow the breeze is picking up and it's going to be windy, high of 29. We'll be right back.
It's high school basketball season, and ABC7 and Fox 22 are here to keep you up to date with your local scores and highlights during Friday Night Fast Break. Get out and support your hometown teams and look for our sports crew to get your own free Friday Night Fast Break t-shirt courtesy of
Center Theater, Guilford Hardware, Kimball Insurance, McCusick Petroleum, Piscataquis County Collision, and Rowell's Garage and Car Wash.
Quitting smoking, vaping, and other tobacco may be tough, but you can do it, even if you don't get it right the first time. Don't give up. Working with a quit coach increases your chances of successfully quitting, especially combined with quit medications. That's why each quit program through the Maine Quit link offers free patches, gum, and/or lozenges, and helps you build a customized quit plan. Call 1-800-QUIT-NOW or enroll online at mainequitlink.com. It's free and it works.
Hi, Todd from Dorsey Furniture here with a great financing offer on beautiful new furniture. The new introductions are here, new sofas and sectionals from Flex Steel, a new cherry bedroom by Ben and Aaron, as well as a new collection of living rooms by Leather Italia. During the month of February, qualified buyers can enjoy new furniture and take 24 months to pay at 0% interest. On sale pricing plus 24-month interest-free financing makes right now a great time to transform your home. Live well, my friends.
Oh, what a good time we will have. You can make it happen, girl.
Try dietary supplements from Voltaren for healthy joints.
Tonight, a stalker hunting women. A young mother vanishes. Another mother gunned down. And then
A minivan pulls up. I'm the one that got away.
all new 2020 tonight on ABC.
So finally this hour, a young Australian boy is rescued by police after getting stuck inside a claw machine. Take a look at this. 30-year-old Ethan Hopper climbed through the Hello Kitty Toys claw machine at a shopping center in Brisbane on Saturday. After getting stuck, his father, Timothy Hopper, quickly called police to get him out. His father told police to cover his eyes as they shattered that glass panel.
Oh my God.
It all ended up fine though. So
He's
we're back
okay.
to that, yeah.
All right, we'll continue broadcasting on Fox 22. Have a great day.